Now, next up, every once in a while, we get to invite a manufacturer to send back a gadget that maybe didn't make the cut in an episode of Before You Buy. In this case, we're talking about this. This is a ZTE projector / hotspot / battery bank / Android device. If that sounds like a lot of gadgets, it is, because it's gadgetception. The idea is to put everything into one mobile package with a big battery and a lot of functions that we found useful, but, well, this is what we thought the last time around.
The Sprint Live Pro is marketed as the Swiss Army knife of electronics. Available from Sprint for $300 with a 2-year service agreement, the Live Pro combines a hotspot, Pico projector, battery bank, and Android device into a neat 4.7 by 4.7 by 1.1-inch 14-ounce package. The somewhat sensical combination of technologies in the Sprint Live Pro left me scratching my head, wondering if this was the most stupidly awesome gadget ever, or the most awesomely stupid Frankenstein's monster. In the end, the Sprint Live Pro is an interesting multifunction device with really bad implementations of some of those functions.
You want to like this, don't you?
I really do. I like the combination of gadgets. You know, it's a projector, it's an Android device, it's a battery bank, it's a hotspot. The problem is, you know, as I said,
it does none of them well.
It does none of those things well. I mean, the projector is okay, but it's underpowered. The battery bank's not big enough. The hotspot's horrible. I mean, if it's a hotspot, you're paying for service. If I can only get 1 megabit down and, you know, half a megabit up, it's crap.
If you were to pick one thing that this does well, would it be the projector?
It would be the projector.
Okay.
And I would say this, if I had the ability to buy this for like $300 but no contract,
right,
I actually would get it. It is a decent battery bank. It's a very cool projector. It's got a lot of features that I'd like to use, but I'm not paying that 24 months of service for a hotspot that doesn't really work. It's a don't buy.
It's a do not buy, sad to say, on, what is this called, the Sprint?
It's Live Pro.
Super Velodyne, Super Heterodyne, transmitter, receiver.
So that was a don't buy for the ZTE Live Pro. This is the ZTE Spro 2. It is the new version, and as you can see, they've changed a few things. I didn't like the fact that the battery bank wasn't that big. Well, they've increased the size of the battery bank. I didn't like that the projector was a little weak. Well, they've doubled the lumen output of the projector. I didn't like the fact that the hotspot didn't work. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that because this hotspot actually worked incredibly. Now, let's talk about some of the things that this does really, really well and maybe not so well on other things. If we compare this to the original, well, we're going to see that it does have all the same features. So the original had SIM, micro SD, HDMI, USB inputs. This has the same. The other one had a battery bank, so does this. The other one supported 10 wireless clients, so does this. That's where the similarities end. Go ahead and bring the lights all the way back up, Ryan, because we want them to get a good look at this. This is going to be using Android 4.4 instead of Android 4.2. And if you go to the overhead shot, not only is it using a newer version of Android, actually, let me go ahead and bring the brightness all the way up, but it's using a customized version. This is one of the few times where I think a skin is actually a good idea. What they've done is they've made it so that the most commonly used features have their own tabs. This makes it feel more like an integrated unit. In the other one, in the original Live Pro, it felt like Android was just kind of thrown in there because why not? Let's have one more device. This actually works better. This makes the projector, the hotspot work more as a unified device. And I love the fact that they've got these buttons that come up on the home screen that can activate all the major functions. You can turn the projector on and off. You can turn Miracast in case you want to broadcast wirelessly to this projector. You can turn the hotspot on and off. And yes, it does support Google Now. I could say, okay, Google, I disabled that so it wouldn't do it. And it would go into Google Now. Also, they've increased the horsepower of the unit. The original one was a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz processor. This one has a quad-core Snapdragon processor, which means it's going to work better for your software. You saw it playing Netflix just a while ago. I can play video straight off of the USB port on this, which are really, really nice. It also increased the screen. The older one had a 4-inch 800 by 480 touchscreen. This one has a 5-inch 1280 by 720p screen. And I gotta say, I love the fact that they upgraded the projector. The old one was 854 by 480. It could scale up to 1080p. This one can do true 720p. And they also increased the output. The old one could do 100 lumen. This can do 200. But It does 200 when you have it plugged in. If you've got it on battery, it does 100 like the original. But that's a good option, so that if I'm actually in a presentation area where I can get extra power, it means that I can get more power onto my screen. Now, how does this affect the battery? Well, because the battery is bigger, it now means I can get between 2.5 and 3 hours of projection time. I was getting close to 3 hours. In fact, most of the time I was getting about 3 hours and 5 minutes of projection time. And it also means I can get 16 hours of hotspot off of a single charge. This is a much improved model. Now, the big thing for me last time, go ahead and come back to my why. The big thing for me last time was the fact that it was supposed to be a hotspot, and the hotspot was horrible. Go ahead and play some of that video. I tested the coverage on this device everywhere, just like I did with the other one. The other one I tested in New York, in DC, in Boston, Chicago, back to San Francisco. This actually came with me across the country, and I really mean across the country. We started in DC, we drove all the way through the heartland of America, up through Denver. I ended up in Hawaii, and almost never lost connectivity. Not only did I not lose connectivity, but I got some great transfer rates. Even in some of the worst areas, I was getting 5 megabits per second down and 8 megabits per second up. And in some of the best areas, I was getting true LTE speed. I got to say, as much as I give AT&T crud for being AT&T, they do a really good job with coverage, and ZTE did a really good job in making sure that this particular unit could maintain connectivity. I truly believe there was something wrong with the original version. It wasn't just that Sprint service wasn't as everywhere as AT&T. It was that there was something wrong with the unit that degraded the signal. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you're trucking across America. You basically have to eat everywhere. It even worked here. We were in the Arches National Park in Utah, where there are no repeaters, and I managed to get service. I was tweeting from the park through this hotspot. See, I still have a tiny bar of 4G service in the middle of the park. That's how good it was, and really, I got to say, they did a great job. Now, let's talk a little bit about the pros and the cons. On the pro side, it's fast 4G LTE. It's got that dual band Wi-Fi, both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz that I like a lot. It's got a bright projector. It's expandable. It's portable. It's got a long battery life. The cons, really, that is expensive. It's $399 with a 2-year contract. It's $499 without a contract. And this is the big one for me. This hasn't been fixed. They've got a proprietary charger. Unfortunately, this right here kills it for me, because if I want a mobile device, I don't want to have to be carrying a proprietary charger, a charger that only gives power to this hotspot. That's just a no-go. Now, buy, try, don't buy, this is kind of tricky. If you are a business professional who is looking for something you can use in meetings, then this probably is a buy, because this isn't going to dissuade you. But if you're looking for a hotspot that could also do a bunch of other things, I'm afraid that this is going to make it a try. Now, that's still better than the don't buy, and I truly believe that at some point they're going to swap this out with a high-power USB-C, and that will make this device an absolute buy. So I invite ZTE, send me your next version, the next revision, and we will give it another redemption. And straight off the bat, if you swap out this power supply and make it easier for me to travel with what's supposed to be mobile, it is going to get a buy.